Good morning. I'm Charles Phillips, CEO of Infor, and we always like to start off with a quick little video intro. So great, just to complete the introduction to Infor, we're the third largest business applications company in the world. You probably hear the term ERP, and we build ERP applications for specific industries. And it's really a transformed company. Really over the last 3.5 years, we've transformed it to something completely different if you knew Infor before. A bit of context, I came in December of 2010 with 3 colleagues from Oracle, and we all joined the same day, and we spent about $1 billion over the last 3.5 years doing one thing, building great products with beautiful user interfaces. So that's part of our differentiation. We're the only applications company that has a separate creative agency in New York City, and that's where we're headquartered. And we did that because we thought user experience was going to be a big differentiator for us going forward. The next generations of users would demand more intuitive, more consumer-like interfaces. And so we're taking that skill set and bringing it to the enterprise. So we have a separate agency, and we've hired people from media companies, advertising agencies. We have a Pulitzer Prize winner for information graphics. We have the digital effects artists who did the movie The Avengers. We have Kenneth Cole designers. These are people you can find in New York that went there for creative reasons and ended up somewhere along the way picking up software skill sets. We call them left-brain creatives. So that's one big part of our differentiation. The other thing we do differently is build applications by industry. So all of those last-mile features that normally people don't like to do because they're hard and leave to integrators and consultants to do, we've made that part of the core product. And so after all that investment over the last 3.5 years, 11,000 new enhancements by industry, we delivered 1,000 integrations, really reinventing the product and becoming a product-focused company. We're now at a point where it makes sense to start to pivot and go to our next disruption, which is going to be cloud with Amazon. So along the way, we made some investments more tactically to start moving customers to the cloud. We have about 2,000 customers that are there now, about 12 million consumers who use those applications, but that was more on an opportunistic basis, but it's growing. So what's changing now is there's a big opportunity in the enterprise industry, software industry, to really move customers more aggressively because we think they're ready. And what's changing is, in the old days, they were more concerned about the public cloud not being secure. We had these conversations, long conversations with customers in our user groups about, I'm not ready because I'm in aerospace and defense, security is a big deal to us, or I'm in public sector. These are all big customers for us. But that conversation is changing. Most of their security breaches are now internal, and they actually view the cloud, especially Amazon's cloud, probably more secure than their own facilities. The second thing that's changing is they realize they have to move faster. And so all the industry features we've been adding allow them to actually view the software as a service because they don't have to customize anymore. So they want the same continuous innovation and fast provisioning that they see these SaaS companies doing in other parts of their business. And then last thing we decided to do is we had to lower the cost of the infrastructure as well, not just the actual cloud service. And so we went open source. So we spent a lot of time in the last 2 years moving to Postgres, JBoss, Linux. We're the first large ISV to have a completely open source stack we support. That's what we're going to run on Amazon as well. So as we looked at this, essentially we're almost a cloud startup because we're about to move our customers, 70,000 customers, pretty aggressively, and say we could do whatever we want to do, which direction we want to go, who do we want to partner with. So we decided, number one, we don't want to build data centers. We're a bunch of entrepreneurs and basically owner-operators, and every dollar has to mean something for our shareholders. Do we want to build data centers and buy servers and start to spend that money that way? Not really. So we basically say a Cloud 2.0 company, you wouldn't build a data center. Friends don't let friends build data centers anymore. There's no reason to do that. And so we want to build great applications, not data centers. And so based on that opportunity that we see, our customers are sounding differently. They're saying, you know I said no 2 years ago, let's talk about it. What's changing is, in the enterprise, they started using services like Amazon, mostly for dev and testing, custom applications, things that they thought were kind of low risk. And then they migrated on to what we call edge applications, things that aren't mission critical, but around the edges. So HCM applications, we have a couple thousand customers, a broad HCM suite. CRM, we have marketing applications. So that got more comfortable with that. But the core ERP for things like financials and manufacturing, that's largely still on premise. But people are asking the question now, should we start to move this? It hasn't been available. Most of the companies that provide these applications are still largely on premise, and they prefer it that way. We're private. If there's an opportunity to actually disrupt the market and make a shift, we can actually afford to do that. And then what's even less likely to be in the cloud is the core industry, that last mile functionality I talked about. So a patient classification system for a hospital or formula management for a beverage manufacturer. The core mission critical thing they care about, they kind of were comfortable with that on premise, at least historically. So what's changing is they're now saying, if there's a way to move all of this at once, where it's all integrated, same user experience, and it's someone I trust who's been running these applications for me in the past, if they'll go to the cloud with me, I'll consider it. So that's exactly what we're announcing today we're going to do, is we're going to hopefully disrupt the industry, and we're introducing something called Infor Cloud Suite, the world's first end-to-end industry suites in the cloud, and we're going to use Amazon exclusively for this. So all those last mile features I talked about that we put into the product, was a pretty good timing because you need to do that to make it a standard service by industry. We also introduced something called Upgrade X, where you can pay basically $55,000. We'll convert your data and move you to the cloud for existing customers who've been loyal to us, and have our partners doing the same thing, and of course the beautiful UIs we're known for. All that on AWS. We have customers in 164 countries. It's one of the few companies that could scale with us. So we'll have MicroVertical cloud suites, we call them, by industry. There'll be a cloud suite corporate, a cloud suite healthcare, a cloud suite aerospace and defense, automotive, so on and so on. This is the way we think of clouds because this is where our customers deploy applications by industry. And so to give you an example, to click down on one of them, Infor Cloud Suite Healthcare, this is what it would look like. You'd have all the edge applications I described for financials, HCM systems, onboarding, all the things you'd expect in the back office. But then a lot of things that are unique to healthcare, like clinical integration. We're the #1 in clinical integration in hospitals. By the way, we run, if you look at the hospitals in the US with more than 150 beds, 72% of them run Infor applications. We have other things like nurse scheduling, surgical instrument management, patient acuity, all these things that are mission critical for a hospital, and these things must work all the time. We have those, and so we've integrated those in. Since they know we understand their processes, we've worked with them a long time, we can now say it's okay to move. So Amazon has a great reputation and brand name. They're HIPAA compliant, all the security requirements for that industry. And it's an industry under pressure right now. Their cost model is changing. They have to go to population management, away from fee-for-service. They need to know their costs. They need best practices. And so automation is a big answer for that. And so the timing is great to work with Amazon on this. So we think Amazon's a perfect partner for us. They have the global scale we needed. We're in a lot of different countries, a lot of localizations we've already built for different countries. We had to change a lot of our products and make an investment to do that. We wanted to take advantage for things like auto scaling. To do that, we had to expose state in our application, make them stateless. That way, when a session ends, we can give that capacity back to Amazon and not pay for it anymore. So things like that require investment. It's hard to do that across multiple suppliers. We decided to pick one and go deep and make sure we optimize all the patching and management tools around that. And a lot of these services that really make it a cloud service weren't available on all the other platforms. And then lastly, just the cultural aspect, the fact that Amazon and Andy and his team were so responsive, and they acted like entrepreneurs like we are. And we were able to make these decisions and develop these applications and work closely with them, and instead of sitting around waiting for meetings that took months with some of the other guys, this was happening in days and weeks. So we just knew we could work with them. And so a very responsive team and customer focus. And it's the only service provider we've ever worked with that actually called us to help us lower prices voluntarily. So we just like the breadth and the depth and the culture that they were leading us to and the innovation. So We're essentially going all in on AWS, moving our customers there. We're announcing this today. We'll be doing a series of webcasts and events around the world with customers. The same thing with our partners. We're changing the incentive compensation plans for our field organization and our partners to encourage them to move people to this platform. We think it's the right one for us, and it has had so much more capacity than anybody else out there. So we're looking forward to being a great partner for AWS, and hopefully we'll be saying good things about us here next year. Thank you.